Hey y'all, I'm Lyndon, Pacey, Cervantes. I am running for Congress in District 3 in California. I'm trying to flip the seat from red to blue. Currently, it is held by Congressman Kevin Kiley, who has decided not to run in this district because he knows at this point, because Prop 50, District 3 will go to a Democrat. So hopefully I am the Democrat. I am here just going to explain my overall campaign. Obviously, if you can see by my shirt, not a fan of PG&E. So that's one of them. So I will get into it. First of all, wanted to tell you that I have been a local radio host personality in the area, in the Sacramento, greater Sacramento area for about 15 years. I've been on 105.1 KNCI, now 100.5, now 100.5. Let's see. We've got also V101. And then KFBK and the N. So I've kind of been, pretty much everywhere. The most recent decade or so has been afternoons on 105.1 KNCI and nights on now 100.5. So some would consider me a trusted voice in the area. I did get everyone through a lot of the fires that we went through, especially the Paradise Fire. I helped people get through COVID. We've laughed together on the air. We've cried together on the air. I've definitely cried in the past raising money for children's hospitals, learning about those kids and what they've all gone through. And everyone in the greater Sacramento area has helped me raise millions for children hospitals across the nation. So what got me into running for Congress? It's not very complicated story, but it's not the traditional story of someone running for Congress. Like I said, I've been on the radio for, I'm going to age myself, like over 20 years. Over 20 years in Northern California, almost 15 years in Sacramento itself. For about 3 years, I was my mother's caretaker. The story behind that is she lived in Nashville for a big chunk of her life, pretty much most of it towards the end. And when she was in Nashville, she was on Medicare. And the issue there was when she got diabetes, first of all, she wasn't really able to afford every single thing that she needed because in Tennessee, it's a red state. So they don't really take care of their people when it comes to Medicare that well. Totally different here in California, but that's a different story. So she was over there in Tennessee, and she was on Medicare because of her diabetes. She had a stroke. And what happened was she was in the hospital. The doctor recommended that she get about 6 months of rehab because she lived on her own. However, the federal healthcare system came back and said, we're only going to give you 2 weeks. So that's what they did. They gave her 2 weeks of rehab, and they just kind of shipped her off. Then she went home. And essentially she had the doctors don't know, probably about 3 to 6 more strokes. They couldn't really tell. And that completely wiped her mentality. So I flew there, and in 3.5 days, I packed up her house, I sold it, and I moved her in with me here in Sacramento, kept her alive for about 2.5 more years. And unfortunately, she passed. She would still be alive here today, I fully believe, if the federal healthcare system was not such a, pardon my language, shit show, because it is. Because not only should we be expanding Medicare, at least affordable health care, but absolutely expanding Medicare, if not Medicare for all. Medicare itself, it's not the best system. It's better than a vast majority of private health cares. However, Medicare itself needs to be reformed. It needs to include memory care. It needs to include the skilled nursing facility rehab like my mom needed. It should include as much as they need in order to get back home and live alone or just recover. That's the insane thing. People should not have to go into bankruptcy just to live. So my slogan for the campaign is Bill the Billionaires. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that billionaires pay the same percentage of taxes as you and I do. Some of us paying 20, 30, 40% in taxes when billionaires, I think the vast majority of them pay under 10%. Elon, I think, paid. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But, I did just see something about like Jeff Bezos barely paying anything in taxes last year. I think it may be close to like 0%. So what they do is they hide it in wealth. And if you didn't know, wealth cannot be taxed at the moment, which is why wealth tax is such a huge thing for it. And this is the funny thing. People are going to be like, oh, if you start billing the billionaires, then they're going to move. Where? Where are they going to move to? They always threaten that so that people don't do a wealth tax. Where are they going to move to? Europe, where they're going to be taxed out of existence? Absolutely not. They're going to stay. They always do. They always have. They just threaten to leave, and they don't, especially if it's coming from the federal government that's doing a wealth tax. They're not going anywhere. They love America. It's where they have all the tax loopholes, which we're going to close, but definitely they're not, no matter what with the wealth tax that I'm presenting, it's not going to be nowhere near what they're taxed in Europe. So they're not going to go there, and they won't go really anywhere else because they're going to be taxed as well. So Billing the Billionaires, we are expanding affordable healthcare. We are going to expand affordable childcare. So that with that, you have people even like Elon Musk that are like, hey, the child birth rate is so low, it's not going to be able to compensate the human population for that much longer. Okay, well, why the hell do you think the child birth rate is low? It's not because people don't want to have kids. People want to have kids. They just want to not be financially destroyed because of it. So, of course, we're going to have to expand affordable childcare, if not move to universal childcare. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you can't do that. Well, look at Mandami, Zohran Mandami in New York. He accomplished that in 8 days. Everyone said that the governor, Kathy, is not going to approve it. She tweeted 8 days after he took office, hey, universal childcare is coming to New York. So things can happen if you actually want it to happen. So you have to vote. You got to vote for it to happen. So Billing the Billionaires, that's what we're going to do. Expand Medicare, expand affordable healthcare, expand childcare, moving to universal childcare. And the third thing is taking down monopoly utility companies like PG&E, like my shirt says. Just a little bit more sensitive in the language. So what happened is, obviously, I'm sure so many of you know, PG&E made about $2.47 billion in profits in 2024. I haven't looked at the 2025 numbers. I'm not sure if they've come out yet. However, if you only have one option, you have one option for electricity or gas. Many people here in the Sacramento greater area have SMUD. So what we're going to do is we're going to SMUDify PG&E. How are we going to do that, Pacey? I'm glad you asked. What we're going to do is we are going to turn it into a not-for-profit community energy provider. And, of course, it's going to need federal funds, which is why I'm going to have to present it in Congress. Federal funds. And this is going to be a nationwide thing. So if you only have one option, like many of us do with PG&E, me for gas. Luckily I have SMUD for electricity, but for gas, my gas bill is insane. It has been for years now. If you only have one option, like many in the Bay Area do, they only have PG&E as an option for electricity and gas. It's going to be a forced buyout by the counties. Ideally, the counties, maybe sometimes the cities, haven't gotten that far yet on the details. However, it is going to require federal money going to these counties and cities in order to buy out, because you can't just do a takeover of the government, because the court system, the judicial system would probably not allow that. So it can be done as a forced public buyout. And so we are going to take the federal money and improve that and give that to counties across the nation, because you also have counties like Southern California Edison, SDG&E. I only know the California ones because I've only lived in California. But the monopoly utility companies need to be taken down. If you only have one option for your utility for electricity or gas, it's got to be turned into a not-for-profit community energy provider. If you ask so many people, I'm an example. I lived in the Bay Area for a little bit, so I only had PG&E for electricity and gas. Then I moved to Sacramento and had SMUD. SMUD isn't perfect. No company will be. It is community owned by Sacramento County, I believe. But it is community owned, and it is so much better. And from what I understand, about 40% people that have community owned utility companies pay about 40% less in utilities. So anyone that has gone from either PG&E to SMUD or SMUD to PG&E knows that SMUD is way better because it is community owned. It is not for profit. So that $2.47 billion that PG&E made in 2024 could go right back to the customers, could also go right back to the infrastructure to not have all these fires breaking out. I know not every single one of them is because of PG&E, but many of them are, and they've had to admit that in court. And then what happens is they're sued in court, and those court costs, the settlements, just go right back to the customers paying for it. SMUD barely has to deal with that. I'm pretty sure they don't. I believe SMUD power lines are all underground. So PG&E should have done that decades ago. They didn't because they're private. They care about profits, and that's all they care about. So if they didn't have to care about profits, then they could put it into that infrastructure in order to make sure these damn fires don't happen. And those of you that are on the outskirts of Sacramento and the foothills, you wouldn't be having to pay the fire insurance because these fires wouldn't break out. Half of these fires are PG&E's fault. That's why they have to do all these blackouts during high wind days. They shouldn't have to. All these lines should have already been undergrounded decades ago, but they didn't because it cut too much into their profits. So that being said, PG&E is going to be turned into a not-for-profit community energy provider, and monopoly utility companies like them, like Southern California Edison and SDG&E, and so far. So in conclusion, District 3 is the congressional district I'm running for. I'm Pacey Cervantes. Lyndon Pacey Cervantes is what you're going to see on the ballot. My legal name is Lyndon Cervantes. My radio stage name has been Pacey Cervantes for quite some time. So you're going to see Lyndon Pacey Cervantes on the ballot, and we have to flip it from red to blue to take back the House. But Ami Bera is also flipping into my district. He went from District 6 to District 3. I don't know why. God knows why. I think he wanted to look like a savior. Doesn't really matter. More people, thank God, know my name in this area, in this district, than they know Ami Bera's name, because I've been a trusted voice in the community for almost 15 years. So Ami Bera is going to do nothing. He's an establishment Democrat. He's a do-nothing Democrat. He hasn't really gotten anything done. I couldn't even find anything that he's authored that's even gotten passed that's done any kind of substantial benefit for the American people. So we have to flip it red, or God, no. We have to flip it blue from red. Kevin Kiley currently has the seat, but he's not running this district. Ami Bera, if he gets in, he's just going to do nothing. He's a do-nothing Democrat. So, like I've said before, I've been on the radio in the greater Sacramento area in this district, District 3, which, by the way, if you didn't know, is Arden, Southeast Sac, Rancho, and I'm sure I'm going to forget parts. I'm so sorry. Rancho, Folsom, Fair Oaks, we got Auburn, we got Grass Valley, Nevada City, Truckee, Tahoe, both parts of Tahoe, by the way, North and South, Pollock Pines, and more, of course. Sorry if I forgot your area. But in this area, I have been speaking to upwards of 500,000 people every single week on the radio for the past almost 15 years. So I have been a trusted voice in the community. No, I don't have a political background, but we need people. We need new blood. We don't need people that are career politicians. The benefit of me not being a career politician is I will say what needs to be said. I don't fear blowing up my political career because I don't have one. I will say what needs to be said. I will say what's on my mind. And I believe that is what the American people need. I believe that Trump was elected because a lot of people were like, oh, I don't agree with what he says, but I like that I at least know what's on his mind. And I know I loathe everything about Trump, but we have to learn what the American people, why they voted for him. And I believe, and many people will also confirm this, I believe that the reason he was elected is because people wanted someone transparent. They wanted someone that speaks their mind. They don't want to be lied to. They're so sick of being lied to by all these politicians. And that's going to be me because I don't have a political career to blow up. So I will say what needs to be said, whether it's against Republicans or establishment Democrats or any Democrat, really. If I believe the Democratic Party, which I do believe is complete crap right now, I'm going to say it. And it needs to be said. So, CervantesForCongress.com. You want to get involved. You want to donate. Donations are the big thing right now. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you have will help get this movement pushing even more forward. If you want to volunteer, we're going to start really tapping into our volunteer resources mid-March, end of March. So CervantesForCongress.com, and let's build the billionaires.